Now we have our three MIDI regions with MIDI notes every time there was a drum hit on the kick, snare, or toms. So we're going to select all of these and merge those into one MIDI region. We're going to go up here. I had this open the whole time, but open up the global tracks and go to configure global tracks and enable beat mapping. We're going to use beat mapping to create a crazy tempo so that we can select or so that we can cut up all the audio at once and not have to go through and make separate cuts for each drum hit. All right. Now what we're going to do is we are going to select our MIDI region and hit analyze. Or I mean not analyze, I'm sorry, don't hit analyze. Analyze is for audio. Hit beats from region, and it's going to ask you for a note value. If the drums are really fast, you're going to have to use eighth notes. I usually just use quarter notes. All right, I just want to pause here real quick and tell you what this is actually doing. What you're telling beat mapping to do is those MIDI notes that you made, you're telling them on the grid to put one quarter note between each one of those MIDI notes. So the grid is going to move itself so that it looks like there's one quarter note between each of those MIDI notes. So one quarter note between each of the drum hits that we have in our multi-take drums. So let me zoom in here so you can see what it did. Basically, it took the tempo and adjusted it so that in between every drum hit, the grid reads it as a quarter note. So this is between this kick right here and this kick is actually an eighth note, but you see the tempo kind of scoot away up there and read it as so that it could read it as a quarter note. We're going to use that to our advantage and select all of the tracks in the drum group. Use the scissor tool and hold down Option and click on the first quarter note. So since all of our drum hits now are lined up to quarter notes, when we cut at every quarter note, which is what holding down Option is going to do, now we have a drum hit at the top of every single one of those regions. And that's good, because we'll be able to quantize those regions then. This is important though. You want to select all of those regions that you just made and click Region Lock SMPTE Position. This is important because we're about to move the tempo back to where it was, back to 120, and if we do that without locking these regions down, these regions are just going to move all over the place, and it's gonna sound crazy. So we want to keep these where they are right now until we can quantize them to the actual tempo, not to this crazy tempo that we made. We're done with beat mapping, so I'm just gonna hide that or disable it. All right. Now I'm going to open up the tempo and select an alternative tempo. And make sure that it was the original tempo that the drums were tracked to. These drums were tracked to 120. Then with all my regions selected, I'm going to go back to the region menu here and select unlock SMPTE Position, because now we want to be able to move it around to quantize it. Then I'm going to open up the list menu here and get all of these regions selected in that list menu. And I'm going to use the quantize function. I'm going to quantize to 16th notes. Just quantize to whatever the fastest beat was that you had in your drums. And you see This is just like using the tab to transient with the marquee tool now. It moved all the regions so that the beginning is now locked to the grid, the beginning of each region. But you see it created some space here in between some of the regions. So if you play it right now, it's going to sound all choppy and crazy. What we want to do is select the left edge of the region of any one of the regions while they're all selected and drag back about a 30-second note. And we're going to go to region, remove overlaps. And this is something that I wanted to show you. This actually gave me some problems. You want to select all but the last region in your drum group to be able to do the crossfades. So you see how I have I can select equal power fade over here. Watch what happens when I select the last region in my drum group. See over here in the inspector, I get for the fade out, I get this star. The reason that that's happening is Logic is looking for something to equal power or to fade between in this last region. You need something to fade to when you're doing an equal power fade, and there is nothing, so it's kind of wigging out and giving you a star and telling you that you can't do an equal power fade. So you want to make sure and select the second to last region and drag back, and then 5 milliseconds is usually good. 5 millisecond equal power fade. And that is it. Now your drums should sound right on the beat. And they do.